That's the lesson that you take from this. Don't ever, ever, ever give up on someone.
When it comes down to it, it's a very difficult sport.
I enjoy the people that are here.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Welcome to Community Close-Up and Happy New Year. I'm Joe Nelson. Today we find out how a needle and thread weave strong family ties and a connection to the past. And we'll meet a 1-year-old who will soon begin training to become a police officer. But first, about 3 years ago, a small group of men started a project they knew they'd never finish. Beneath a Coon Rapids liquor store, hundreds of cars arrive and depart without ever leaving the building.
I've been doing it since I was a young kid. I had a train layout at home.
Got my first train set when I was probably like 8. My father put it on a piece of wood and I played with it and played with it and played with it and just grew from there.
Raised with a reverence for the railroad, a half-dozen men from throughout the metro decided to connect their collections and create a club.
There were 6 of us that were part of another group.
Basically it's modular club. You go set up, start allocating funds to different things. Bench work, wiring, track.
One member of the newly formed North Metro Model Railroad Club, who used to work at an old Coon Rapids grocery store, recalled its empty basement that would fit the stations they had envisioned.
Lots of meetings just before we even had our first meeting for the public to see if there was interest out there. Hundreds of hours of planning, drawing, schematics and, upgrades to the room just to make it usable, and it's an unbelievable amount of work.
We just got all this rosin paper out. We drew every single track as you see on the floor, and basically when we started the bench work, we lifted the paper up, put it on top of the bench work, and laid all the track to it.
There's almost always somebody down here working. Some people work third shift, they come down there today. We have people who are retired come down and work.
Stationed next to the Coon Rapids VFW, the growing group now of more than 50 members constructed a wooden frame, laid and wired more than 600 feet of HO scale track, and built scenery to reflect unique areas of Minnesota.
As the members started forming, we talked about what we wanted to do as far as where we wanted to model. And it came down to we wanted to model the Minnesota area, things for people to recognize. We use Google Maps a lot to get footprints of the buildings. People go to the actual locations, take photos.
We note on here that the city location is Bethel. It takes 2 car spots, and then it kind of gives you information about what to put in there, so box cars.
Well, I think we've done a great job in 3 years. I mean, we've accomplished a lot more than most guys can do in 20.
But the work hasn't stopped. Will this ever be done down here?
No, never.
I joke with my wife because she asked when this will be done. It will never be done. Even if we get an area done, there's always more trees, cars, and people you can add. And then after a while you decide, oh, the scene looks like this, but now we want to switch it to a new scene. And as we started building this up, we talked about what areas we wanted to model. We model locations like St. Cloud, Brainerd, Staples, North Town Yard. So things that represent the line between Chicago and Seattle.
The club tries to make micro-municipalities as accurate as they can, with some members more adamant than others.
We call those people rivet counters, and it depends. Based off the space, we'll drive some of that. If the space is big enough, we'll try to build the building as close to real as we can. If it's not a big area, then we'll compress it down to the space.
We have a couple guys that do work for the railroad, and they basically said it's as close as you can get to the real thing, and it was kind of cool to get that nod. And over down this way, you see the guys putting up a little billboard, so nice little details kind of put in. And it's just those are the little touches that people kind of add to the layout.
But not everything's exact.
We also put little surprises in for people that do come inside, so you can actually see a little Chinese dragon that got out of the zoo, and he's on escape out in the swamp there. This is a little freelance scene. This is done by one of our members, John, and this phenomenal trestle bridge is individually put together by little timbers. So all those boards on there, they're individually nailed and glued, and a lot of hours put into just that one bridge itself.
Although they're made to look like it, these aren't their grandpa's train sets.
The hobby's changing in that it's up to date with technology now. We can use an Android or an iPhone. You can use an iPod, tablets to run the trains on this layout. We're computerized here with the dispatcher panels on monitors. My phone displays the track layout.
Down here we have basically monitors added on, and then we have security cameras basically just mounted in certain spots. But this is to show us the staging that's underneath. And we have another set of monitors down here, so there's actually hidden track, and the tracks enter right over here, and then basically they climb on underneath and allow you to go different routes under there. The panels basically are related to, so you'll see the red and green lights. So if I push the switch number 412, you'll see the lights flash, and then the tracks will throw.
For a few, it's become somewhat of a second home coming here.
A couple hours a night, probably. When you got free time, I'd rather be here than watch TV.
Most of the guys here had train layouts, and this just takes it to the next level. These are expensive toys.
And just how expensive does it get?
I don't even want to think about it. I have 100 engines, 250 average a pop, so you can do the math. I probably have 300 or 400 cars at $20 a pop, and that just counts that rolling stock and stuff. Doesn't count all the supplies I've bought.
There's also training involved.
Most people at home are going to have 4x8 layouts or 8x8 layouts. You're not going to get to model a lot. This allows you to work with people that know things and have been doing stuff, and you can learn from others. We don't care if the member has any skills or not.
You don't have to know anything. I mean, we got a lot of guys that joined, didn't have a clue about model trains, and they come here to learn, play with this thing.
If they want to do woodworking, we'll teach them woodworking. They want to do electricity, we'll teach them electricity. This is all digital command control. It's all computerized. Every engine in here has a computer chip inside of it. So we can run 100 trains at a time.
If you got a skill and I don't know it, I want to sit and learn it, and you can learn what I know.
It's improved my woodworking skills, my electrical skills, made a lot of friends. There's a lot of friendships that are formed with guys who like to ride trains or go chase trains as well. It's a good way to have some fun.
Modelers say there's still a younger generation interested in keeping the hobby chugging forward.
My 7-year-old boy has been brought up with trains, so I think he'll continue with that.
Out on the road, they say lengthy delays are a delight.
I'm glad I got caught by the crossing gates, because then I got to watch the train go by. I look at it from a modeler's perspective. What's on that flat car? How do they load the things? How's the train mixed? What type of cars are on it?
America was built with the railroads. It is nostalgic, and you just, as you're out driving around, you always see a railroad crossing, you always see a train going by. You see a container train, you're going, well, there goes goods from another country coming into ours, so I can purchase it. Maybe it's got flat screens, or maybe it's got my groceries on it.
Wherever I've lived, and I've lived in Indiana and Ohio and that, I found train clubs in the area and met up with other guys. It's a good camaraderie. It's a good way to meet other people, learn things.
Always been interested in trains. I lived in a couple apartments, so you couldn't exactly have anything, but you built little things, or you go out to the flea markets or the stores and buy something, go, someday I'll have my empire. And here it is.
To see the layout or to join the club, check out a meeting at the VFW on Coon Rapids Boulevard on the third Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. Still to come, we meet a new police officer with 4 legs and bad breath. Stay with us.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
The Coon Rapids Police Department gained a new member on its force last month. Community Closeup's Jordan Rylance explains how this canine and his handler will make a big impact on the streets of the city.
Good boy, yeah. Good boy. Yeah. Good boy.
Man's best friend has a new job and a new handler.
Good boy, yeah. Yeah.
This Coon Rapids police canine has been bred specifically for public safety work. In fact, his father, Big Roy, is a bit of a police dog celebrity in Europe, being crowned as champion in the Royal Dutch Police Dog Association Championships. This 1-year-old, 75-pound puppy is a Belgian Malinois who was graciously donated by former Coon Rapids canine officer Mark McDonough after he retired a few months ago. The dog was officially donated at a city council meeting in December when his name and handler were revealed.
His name is Ike. So it'll be Officer Kim and Ike. And I want you to know that the name, though, came from our DARE students. So we had DARE classes that were going on this fall. They held an informal contest among the kids, and ultimately Ike was selected from one of the classes. So that class will be among the first to get to see Ike once he's trained.
10-year Coon Rapids police officer Interna Kim will be Ike's new handler as a member of the canine unit. The honor comes after a long and intense interview process.
It just means so much. It's such a community effort, and for me to be, the front end of that, I'm very proud.
Watch that guy! Watch that guy! Oh, yeah! Watch that guy! Get him! Ah! Good boy! Good boy! Good boy! Don't fight the dog! Good boy! Yeah! Good boy! Good boy! Yeah!
In March, Ike will begin training to become an official police officer.
It's just 3 months, 40 hours a week or more of just intense training to get him to street level.
Ike moved in with Officer Kim last month, and the two formed an instant bond.
For being so young still, he's doing excellent.
Ike's role within the police department will be invaluable to the officers on the streets.
There's no comparison. They can search a field that would take 10, 20 officers in a fraction of the time. There's times when we call it probable cause or reasons to search cars or arrest people. Without a dog, we wouldn't have been able to develop that.
Watch that guy! Get him! Yeah! Good boy! Yeah! Good boy! Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Good boy! Yeah!
With dogs having a sense of smell 50 times greater than humans, Ike will be able to sniff out drugs, criminals, and weapons. He will undergo endurance and agility training while learning to react and respond to his handler's commands.
And so far, he's shown nothing but confidence.
When it comes to police officers, there's no substitute for a loyal canine.
They just have capabilities that no other tool can compete with.
Ike will graduate from training school in June when Officer Kim and Ike will officially become a canine unit.
Yes, good boy.
For Community Closeup, I'm Jordan Rylance.
The donation of Ike and training from Mark McDonough totals more than $13,000. Up next, how quilts offer more than warmth for many families this winter. Stay with us.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave. Okay, but remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
You need to survive much more than the cold to be a polar bear plunger. It takes courage. There are no princesses here. Each year, these winter warriors jump to frozen glory to raise money for Special Olympics Minnesota. And with a host of locations statewide, you're never far from a polar bear plunge in your area. Join us. The many, the freezing, the polar bear plungers.
Thanks for watching Community Close-Up. January is Minnesota's coldest month on average, and throughout our history, we've had to find ways to stay warm. We leave you with a closer look at how quilting gets families through harsh winters and gives artists another outlet. I'm Joe Nelson. We'll see you next month. Trish Polnasic and her daughter Teresa of Andover found a needle and thread following a similar pattern.
When I started sewing it at about 8, 9 years old for my mom.
I started sewing when I was like probably 8 or 9. My grandma taught me how to sew.
The family tradition started with Trisha's mother, Jean Anderson.
She's totally self-taught. She, started looking at books and different things, and I'm not sure if she's ever even took a class. She just started quilting, and so then we've just kind of continued on doing that.
Trish says a passion for quilting keeps her family close-knit.
I like the togetherness of it because even though we're far apart, I have a daughter who lives in Georgia and a daughter who lives in Duluth, we all share the same passion for sewing, and we enjoy getting together and sewing, and we'll send pictures back and forth.
She makes quilts as gifts personalized by design.
And then my son is really into music, and he's doing live audio technology at Hutchinson, and so his quilt, this is his Christmas gift, has guitars and stuff on it. So it's a themed thing for him.
For Teresa, it's not just warmth, but winning that pushes her to produce prized patchworks.
My quilt this year actually won the first place at the Minnesota State Fair in the 4-H building. It's really fun because it was on display for a couple days, and so I would go and I would like sneak up behind people and listen to what they would say about my quilts because they have no idea who made it.
She says there's a science to what she sews.
And the most of the quilts that I make now, I design myself. And so I use Excel or gridded paper to draw out. It's a lot of math, but it's really fun because then you get to make your own, and it's not something that someone else lays out for you like a pattern.
There's always new tools on the market for you to try, and new rulers and new gadgets and new patterns and stuff that you can always find something to challenge yourself to.
Anoka County Historical Society Program Manager Vicki Wendell says quilting wasn't always so precise.
We certainly didn't have in the past all the fancy tools to make sure we have everything perfectly square, but women would cut templates out of cardboard, and they would still cut templates the same way that women cut quilt pieces out of templates today. Quilters today are very hung up on making sure that every little point is exactly where it's supposed to be, and you don't cut that little point off on any triangle. Quilters of the past obviously were not that concerned about it.
She says quilts cover a large part of American history.
Quilting fabric has been done for hundreds and hundreds of years. In this country, it didn't get really rolling until about the 1840s and after, because prior to that, we didn't have fabric that was manufactured in this country. Everything had to be imported. Quilts were something that people did as a hobby, as a pastime, as a social event, as a necessity.
A collection of antique quilts has materialized over the years.
This is the Crazy Quilt that was done in 1884. This one was made as a signature quilt, and you can just see the little fine writing in the center of the album blocks there.
Wendell says people of all social classes made quilts which varied by the fabric they used.
If you were really poor, it was a necessity. If you were wealthy, maybe you did the fancy quilts of the 1880s.
It can be an expensive hobby.
Depends upon how deep you want to go, because I think my husband would say it is extremely expensive. But we watch for sales and stuff.
With a passion and patience, Teresa is hoping the time, money, and effort spent could soon pay off in new fashions.
I really want to design quilts and have my own design quilt company. I especially want to design fabric, and so I can have my own fabric line and then create different tools that I can use with them. Quilting is really important because it is a type of art, and everyone makes art every day. And so it's just my type of art, and I think that quilting is special in that you can use it every day, and like you can paint a picture and put it on your wall, but you could use a quilt and you sleep with it every night, and you can remember how long it took you to make it, or how long it took for your grandma to make it for you, and how much work they put into it and how much they love you for it.
Oh, but quilts tell stories. Every quilt has a story, and many, many quilters, even of the past, left clues in their quilts of who they were, why it was made, when it was made, where. Some of those clues are there. Some of the things you can find out in the patterns.
I get to remember like my grandma quilting, and then I get to show her my quilts, and we like compare our quilts together, and it's really fun because it's just like all of us together.
A story can warm your heart as much as warming your toes with a quilt. So a quilt is a fragile piece because it's textile, so you do need to have a good amount of care with it. But many times quilts are heirlooms and they're passed on. So when you have that quilt, you're holding a part of your own family heritage.
You have that thing that somebody made for you to remember how much that they cared for you and that they love you and that you're really not alone, even though you may be physically alone at that point because, you know, they're so far away. It's allowed a part of yourself to always be there